Welcome to episode 67 of What's That Sound podcast. My name's Stu Watts, and today I sat down with Sophie Edwards, who is a self-producing artist, songwriter, and engineer from Canberra. In this episode, we discussed Sophie's journey from studying jazz vocals at ANU to Berklee College of Music in New York City, where she studied music production. We explored her approach to collaboration, especially with collaborating with her close musical friends. And we covered some of the challenges that Sophie has faced as a woman in the industry. And we covered the importance of building relationships and being a good hang in the studio. For all that and heaps more, stay tuned. If you can do us a favor and share this podcast around, whether that's in a conversation or in a DM or on your socials, in a story, anything like that, that will help us spread the word about the podcast. We want to get this out there to as many people as possible. Make sure you're followed or subscribed on all of the social media platforms as well as YouTube. That way you can stay in touch with everything new in the world of What's That Sound. Let's just get into it. This is episode 67 of What's That Sound podcast with my guest, Sophie Edwards.
You're listening to What's That Sound with your host, Stu Watts.
What is going on? Welcome to the podcast. Today I am here with Sophie Edwards. Sophie, welcome. And how's your day been so far?
It's been pretty good. It's been kind of busy. I'm here at work at ANU in Canberra, and we had a lot going on today. So it's been really fun. But
yeah,
busy.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking some time out to chat. I'm really, really excited.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And let's kick into it. Let's find out a little bit about yourself. What do you do in the music industry? I know you wear a lot of hats, but yeah, give us a quick rundown.
For sure. So I first started as a singer-songwriter, and I was kind of writing my own music and getting it produced by other people. And I was sitting on the couch behind all of these producers and just kind of thinking that maybe I should have a crack at doing it for myself as well. So, I decided to start studying production and got really, really into it. And then now I produce for other artists and for myself. And then I work 3 days a week at ANU as a tech. So running around their recording studio here, working with external clients as well as students and staff. And just kind of whatever email comes my way, I do it.
Yeah, that's sick. Love that. Love that. Well, take us back to when you were young. What music was kicking around your house? Were your parents really into music? How did that all start for you?
I was thinking about this morning actually because I saw someone on my Instagram had put a block party song as their song on their Instagram post. And I hadn't thought about that particular song in a really long time. And I just instantly really loved it. And I was like, oh, I wonder why I like it so much. And it was because it was the music that my mum used to play in the car on the way to work.
Unreal.
Or to dropping me off at school.
Your mum's got good taste.
Yeah, so that album came out in 2005. So I would have been in year one. And I think all of those albums that before I could really comprehend what music was, but I just enjoyed it. I really love going back through and listening to.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, but then on top of that as well, my dad is he is a drummer, but he just was in a bunch of covers bands growing up. And so we were always listening to Oz rock, 80s, dad rock in the house. And then my mom loved pop music. So it was kind of a big mixture of things. And then in high school, I studied jazz music. So I wanted to be a jazz singer for a really long time. So I feel like I've just kind of done a lot of different things and they all kind of come together, and I find myself pulling from all of these different genres all the time when I'm trying to find something new to inspire me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's nothing better as a producer to have all these different influences and to have that in your DNA. It kind of it goes without you even thinking about it. Like you said, you kind of pull from all these different areas without even really thinking about it. So that's super cool. So you started singing in high school. Was there any instruments that you learned or anything like that as well?
So I started singing actually in primary
Oh,
school.
primary school, yep.
Yeah, so I had singing lessons from maybe about year 2. And it was because I was in the car with mum and I sang this entire Avril Lavigne song from
Yeah.
start to finish, and she was like, "Oh, maybe we've got something here." So she put me in singing lessons, and then I did like a year of piano lessons in year 6, and that was about it.
Yeah.
Everything else was just learning from school, I guess, and music class at school. We would do a lot of music theory, and I'd have to be able to translate that onto other instruments. So I feel like I'm kind of self-taught for guitar and bass and piano. And my dad taught me some drums too. So
Yeah, awesome.
I feel like I can cover the basics of a lot of things.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like as vocals as your primary instrument, I think is kind of rare, to be honest. Like you don't really see it that much. Most people have their primary instrument as like piano or guitar or drums or something like that. So I think even that is kind of something that like maybe makes you think a little bit differently to other producers and engineers out there.
Yeah, I think it means that often with instruments, I'm not overthinking it as much by being a vocalist, because I'm like, oh, that sounds good. That sounds awesome. But in terms of coaching a vocalist through a vocal session, I feel like I can really kind of understand what they're trying to do and what they're trying to say and get something really cool out of that. And I almost wish that I had that for myself sometimes, because when I'm recording my own vocals, I go back to like lazy mode, like, oh, this one's fine.
Yeah.
But I wish I had someone that was like really coaching me on, hey, you can actually do a better take than that, or why don't you try this approach? Because
Totally.
yeah, I think it makes such a difference.
Oh, yeah, it's huge. And it's so hard to be, like, it's easy to be critical of yourself in terms of thinking that, like, it's not that good. Like, you know, it's just so like, you're like, oh, fuck, my voice doesn't sound like the way I want it to or something like that. But you're right, in terms of actual coaching performance, like noticing little, maybe you do this inflection or like be a bit more aggressive or a bit more subtle or whatever it might be. It's really hard to do when you are self-producing, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's often to do with like phrasing, or people just don't realize that they have a whole 2 bars to breathe sometimes, and they're snatching a breath right at the end and tensing up completely to sing the next line. And I'm like, hey, did you notice that you actually had heaps of empty space that you could be taking a nice long slow breath and coming into it comfortably?
Yeah.
That I think some people just don't notice because they're so used to singing things their way that yeah, it takes that outside perspective.
Absolutely. And then take us through, obviously, you know, you went through school, you know, I'm guessing primarily focusing on your vocals. What did that look like after school?
So when I was in year 11 and 12, the ANU has a program for people who love music to be able to study at ANU while doing year 11 and 12.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing that and studying jazz singing, which then they said you should keep doing the degree. So I did an undergrad in jazz singing, and then had a couple of years of like no study after that. And that was around the same time as COVID. So I just kind of started making little songs in my bedroom at that point, cool. Like everyone. Yeah. And then I released my first song that I produced myself, and it did better on streaming than anything that I'd ever gotten anyone else to produce for me.
Wow.
So I was like, oh, maybe I should be doing this from now on. And so the ANU had kind of encouraged me to do some further study just because they thought that that would be useful, and maybe they could find a spot for me to help out at the university a bit more if I had a bit more qualifications. Mm-hmm. So I did some research, and I decided that I wanted to do something that wasn't just about performing or singing, because I felt like I kind of had that covered. And I found Berklee NYC, which is a school in New York, which is just a 1-year program, but it's a master's degree, and you get to work out of the power station in New York. So
unreal.
Yeah, so that was kind of where I learned studio stuff, was at the power station. So I kind of went from 0 to 100 there.
Oh, yeah.
and then I lived in New York for a year and worked. I feel like I just speed ran a lot of stuff because we were learning we were learning like Pro Tools and studio production and workflow there at the same time as learning Ableton and synthesis and all of those types of bedroom producery things. And then just all in 1 year.
Yeah.
And then I moved back to Australia.
Yeah, wild. I want to know the difference between, like learning at a school for your voice and things like that, and then comparing that to what you did at Berklee. Like how did that compare? What was similar? What was different?
I think, I mean, ANU and Berklee are really different because ANU's focused on research. So
Oh, sure.
it's more about learning a lot, and at the end of every year you would do a really big recital that you would spend all of your time and energy creating something for, whereas Berklee was more about practical stuff, so we had a lot less assessment, I would say, and a lot of it was just competency based rather than depth of knowledge. But at the end of the program, we had to kind of come up with our own project, which for me, that was an EP. So I self-produced the whole EP and wrote it all. And it was more practical rather than research based. So, for example, some of our classes at Berklee were about the music industry, were about social media. We had the craziest, weirdest TikTok class. So weird. And I was like, what am I doing here? Because I just come from ANU where we had to take like classical music history class, even though that wasn't relevant for me.
Yeah, like day and night, basically.
Yeah, super different.
Yeah. So, I mean, even studying abroad, like, you hear stories from people that have done that it kind of like changes their life. Is that how you felt about that, or were you just so locked into the work that you didn't really notice?
Yeah, I think I get asked a lot about whether I would move back, or wasn't it just like amazing? And it was also really hard. Like being far away from everyone was really difficult for me. I'd never lived anywhere except Canberra. So Canberra to New York is
again, a day and night.
And I think it made me a really resilient person, and especially working at the power station and some of the other opportunities that I got to have in LA, and they were all just like really mean to me. So I think I don't take many things personally anymore, which is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was definitely worthwhile. Like I wouldn't change any of it. It was very character building and also taught me a lot of skills. So that's good.
Yeah, sounds like it. I guess like, when you're in an environment like that and it's like obviously very much outside of your comfort zone and you're being thrown into things and you're having to adapt and all that sort of stuff, like obviously you said it made you quite resilient, but like what things do you think that you still kind of take with you these days into sessions, into working with people, that sort of thing?
Wait, so like what do I...
Well, it's in terms of like being in an environment like that, like the power station where it's like a pretty,
like
intense,
overwhelming.
Yeah, and then like, seeing other people do their thing and that sort of thing. Like, what do you think that kind of taught you about what you do these days?
Yeah, I think I do have to kind of remind myself that it's just music at the end of the day. It's not a life or death situation. I'm a pretty anxious person sometimes. So being able to just like remove myself and focus on having fun is the best bit. I think I'm really lucky as well that I've had a lot of people kind of back me or support me, or whenever I do question my own abilities, there are a lot of people that I can call who remind me that I could very much do what I'm setting out to do. So yeah, I think I feel pretty confident in most situations now, but I do still get very nervous. So I think it's just like the nerves mean that it's important. It doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. When coming back to Australia, did you go straight into then, you said you were self-producing, but did you start working and collaborating with other people kind of, straight away, or did that take a bit of time then?
I mean, I tried. I really struggled to find my footing for probably like 6 months. And it was such a big shift to be in New York, constantly collaborating with all of the people at school and have this massive group of friends, and then suddenly move back to Australia and everything's just a little bit quiet again. Um, but I think the community here in Canberra especially is just so close-knit that the minute that I moved back, it was like nothing had really changed. And a lot of people were like, oh, great, you're here. Now we can start producing music. So
Yeah.
I had only kind of really worked with local artists until this year, I would say. But yeah, I think it was just like a lot of waiting around for the right job to come up. And then when I did get a job, I kind of had a bit more momentum again. I weirdly got really obsessed with running because I felt like I had to be doing something every day. So I just like ran a really long way because otherwise I'd go crazy.
Hey, you got to get it out one way or another. Like, I think that is another side to being in like a freelance, creative dark studio thing that doesn't get talked about a lot is, healthy body, healthy mind. Like you've got to find a way to make yourself good before you can do any meaningful work, because otherwise you're just distracted. You're just kind of like not in the right headspace. If you haven't slept right, that sort of thing. Like, an exercise, I mean, for me, it's a huge thing. Like, and I again, like if I haven't gone to the gym for like a week, I'm like, fuck, I need to get back, man. Like I need to do it. And it's not directly related to what we do, but it actually is.
Yeah. I read this thing that really inspired me the other day that was talking about how the people who have the most lasting careers in the music industry aren't necessarily the most talented or the hardest working, but it's the people that have the mental strength to be okay with the quiet periods. And I think that's something that I've learned is like, even though there's a couple of months of maybe nothing happening, that just means that the following few months is probably going to be really crazy. So I just need to enjoy the fact that I have a bit of downtime. Yeah.
Absolutely. You're not the first person to have said that exact thing. It's so true. Like, it's so up and down, and you cannot predict like when that's going to come. You can't predict when it's going to end, even though like, we do what we can to try and land new jobs or meet new people or whatever it might be. It's like you can't force people to come and record with you. You just can't do that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and especially in like an economy where people can't afford, basic shit. It's like we're a luxury service. And so, yeah, that sort of stuff's unpredictable. And so, like you said, being good to your body and your mental health and stuff like that, it has to come first. Like, otherwise you're just going to go insane and hate yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I guess now we'll talk a bit more about your solo project. Obviously that started quite a while ago now. Like, you've had a bunch of releases. The music's really, really cool. It's like pop electronic stuff. It's really beautiful stuff. I really enjoy listening to it. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah. I think I feel like in my production, you can kind of you can hear what I was learning at the time. So with my EP that I put out last year, that was the like cumulative project of my master's degree. So there was a lot of like having these beautiful instruments recorded in the power station and then like weird glitchy Ableton stuff over the top, because I was learning all of this at the same time.
Yeah, that's sick.
And I really enjoy that juxtaposition though, and I really love being able to call upon like amazing musicians that are kind of in my orbit, as well as being able to just like sit on my computer by myself for 12 hours straight and make weird noises out of nothing.
Totally.
So yeah, I think that's kind of my sonic signature at the moment, is just like making the most of what's available and then creating new things out of nothing, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And is that kind of how it starts? Is that how you start a project or start a song? Do you just kind of go in there and see what happens?
Kind of depends on the studio. So if I'm working from home and starting in Ableton, then that's all well and good. But we also work in Pro Tools here at the school and at some of the other studios that I work at. So on Pro Tools, I'm mainly tracking. I'm not really doing any MIDI stuff. So I'll bounce between Pro Tools and Ableton depending on what the song is. So we might at the moment I'm working on this song that I produced a while ago that is for my project, where I just invited a bunch of really great jazz musicians in and kind of just gave them a really basic rundown of the chord progression and was like, okay, go.
Yeah.
And now I'm taking all of that and trying to resample it and trying to make it something in a little bit more similar to my last things, because I wanted to showcase their musicianship but still make it something that feels natural to me.
That's so cool. I love that. And I think, the ability to sample stuff is there's endless possibilities, but having that organic framework to then move into the electronic kind of world, that's a really cool concept. So is that something obviously you said you've just done it on this song, is that something that you try to do a lot? Is that kind of a bit of a framework, or is it just different every song?
Yeah, I think especially at the moment, just because I'm so blessed to be working in a really big live room and to be working in a music school full of really talented young people that are always looking for an opportunity to record.
Yeah.
I love to give some of these students their first paid recording experience and get them on my songs. So yeah, it generally starts with live instruments. And for me, I'll write a song and think about how I could imagine it being produced as I'm writing it, even if that's just on guitar or piano. I can kind of imagine the end product in my head while I'm writing.
Yeah. Love it. And when it comes to genres, I know obviously your solo stuff's pop electronic, but a lot of the stuff that you've worked on, I'm guessing because of where you're at ANU, is there's a lot of jazz music in there. You said you grew up learning about jazz with your vocal training and stuff like that. Is that intentional, or is that just kind of happenstance?
Yeah, I think both. I think I can produce jazz in a fun way because I have that knowledge. I think jazz for me, when I'm approached to work on those albums, is I just want to make sure that everything in the room is captured and it feels real. I don't really have to edit all that much, and we hardly do anything to the mix. We just set it all at the very beginning and make sure that everyone feels happy and feels like their instrument is heard in the best way that it can be. And then it's just about encouraging the best possible performance out of the players, because sometimes they're performing for 10 minutes at a time and they're doing multiple takes, and you have to just remind them that they need to take breaks and they need to just focus on one particular section maybe this time, or you don't really do many drop-ins, you don't really do that much. So it's a really fun process where you kind of almost feel like you're a part of the band because you're doing the whole song with them rather than thinking too much about the minute details.
Yeah, I think that also requires restraint. When, I'm very much a new school modern producer where I'm multi-tracking, doing multiple takes, focusing on, specific phrases in a vocal, stuff like that, where, like you said, if you've set up the session and got all the sounds at the start and then you're not touching it, for me, I'd be oh, what if we tried this? What if we did this? And that can really throw the session off, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think especially with the people that I work with here, they're usually they're not recording that frequently, so they're so excited to be there that you don't want to lose that excitement just by trying 100 different mic setups. You kind of just want to set it and forget it and make sure that they're ready to do their best performance. So yeah, I feel because I've been here for a little bit now, I've kind of got a bit of a system Yeah, and everyone's been pretty happy with what I've made for them, so that's good.
Yeah, love it. I mean, that's what's important, I think. Like, you know, obviously if you're providing a service, which at the end of the day, it means that you're having to think about yourself and how you approach things and how you do it and like what I would do in this situation, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, if it's not your product that's coming out, then you are the one that is providing that service and being the one to say, I will do what you want, what this project needs, for example. So yeah, it's definitely a different thing. You talked about collaboration in your solo project. I want to know more about like how you feel about collaboration and like what that means to you. I think it's a really interesting question because for different people, collaboration means something different. So yeah, I want to kind of unpack what your thoughts on collaboration are, how you use it and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think I'm really lucky that my best friends are all like the best musicians that I know as well. So my best friend Liv is this incredible bassist, and sometimes I'll just be producing a song for myself or for someone else, and I'm like, Liv needs to be doing this, not me.
Yeah.
And so I can call her in, and her fiance Kobe is also just like a freak on every instrument.
Love
And
that.
so I think, yeah, I'm just really blessed with like a really great network of people that I can almost picture which one of my guitarist friends should be on the song rather than just being like, this should be done by a better guitarist. I'm like, oh, this one's definitely an Ethan song. I need to message him about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I'm definitely not too precious about including my own recordings on songs. Especially like even the most recent thing that came out that I collaborated with, Gold, it had a guitar solo in it, and I said to Lara, I was like, I think we should put a guitar solo in it. I'm really not, I've never done a guitar solo in my life, but I can just put something in so that you can hear what it sounds like. And she loved it. She was like, yeah, we absolutely need a guitar solo. That's great. And then we posted on TikTok and it like went crazy. Everyone was like, oh my God, the guitar solo is sick. And then I was like, oh no, like I don't want my guitar solo in the song. So we ended up getting it replaced and I was very happy. Yeah, no, but I didn't know what I was playing. I was just kind of noodling around, trying my best. Yeah, so I think I have a mixture of really good friends and not being precious about my own input into the song. That means that the songs become the best that they can be.
Yeah.
Just locally most of the time.
It's awesome. I think like it can be really hard. It can be really hard. Like, I mean, I definitely fall into the trap of like knowing like, oh, I could just lay down some drums. But I also know that when I have a drummer in the other room that I can coach and they can come up with their flair or, you know, come up with a drum fill that I would never be able to come up with because I don't have their brain and their talent and stuff like that. Like that is just, you know, so much more worthwhile than, yeah, like the song would work with me on drums and I definitely do it, you know, for example. But, you know, there's something about being able to have someone that you can trust as well. Like I think trust's such a big part of collaboration that, yeah, you trust yourself, but when it comes to trusting others, you know, they're in there maybe for like only a couple of hours. You got to get it done. You can just put them to work and know that they're going to bring it.
My drummer and I trust each other so much now that I don't even go to the sessions sometimes. When she's recording session drums, she's just like, what song are we doing? And I send her the song and she's like, just sends me 100 different options. And she's like, let me know which one you like. And
all of them?
Yeah. So yeah, no, literally it's really hard. And she'll ask me these really minute questions and I don't even notice the difference between the takes. And I look and they're all good. Like they're all amazing. So thank you.
Sick. When it comes to working on your own stuff, like do you have go-to, I guess, hardware, software, like specific tools that you use? What do you lean on in your own productions that kind of are like mainstays in each session?
I've been really enjoying using Ableton's Granulator, which is like this plugin thing in Ableton where you can take a tiny sample of something and then it turns it kind of into a synth,
Hmm.
and it takes little tiny grains of the vocal sample usually for me and turns it into a pad that just goes underneath the whole song. So I feel like I use that a lot just to fill out, especially when I'm writing with a lot of empty kind of space. It means that there's still something in the frequency that my voice would normally be in, just without lyrics necessarily.
Mm.
And yeah, it's also like this trick that I do that anytime I do it, singers are like, "Whoa, how did you do that?" But it's not that tricky.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I love the granulator.
Yep.
I think I just resample reverbs a lot too and
Yeah,
turn them
cool.
into really big pads.
Yeah.
I think because I'm a vocalist, it always kind of starts with a lot of vocal layering
Mhm.
and working out how I can turn those vocal layers into different sounds and then doing instruments, which is a little strange. But I think it's just because that's the thing that I trust myself the most with.
Yeah. And I think
Yeah.
obviously you'd be quicker at that, getting that to a point where it's like, okay, now I've got the actual bones of the song, like, and it's easier to move on from there for sure. Um, and then when it comes to, when you're in the studio, ANU, working on other projects, what do you find yourself leaning on in terms of tools?
Well, we have like a crazy mic collection here, and I'm not the most techie person in the way that I like to just use lots of different things and see how they sound. I don't necessarily research stuff. Um, often I'm just picking a microphone based on its size and shape and going, this looks like it should be here.
Yeah, yeah.
Which has its faults and its benefits.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's very creative. Yeah, but we've got like this amazing Neumann collection that a lot of people have just like, we've accumulated over a long time because the school's been around for a really long time.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think I'm just always pulling them. We have a really beautiful live room and a really beautiful piano in there. So I think I'm not necessarily, I don't really have set things that I use every time because I just know that everything's pretty good. So I just kind of reach for whatever's inspiring me that day.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like I hate a template.
Oh yeah, fair enough. I mean, I'm kind of similar. I have templates for certain, like where I'll bring in 14 drum mics or whatever, just so that it's there. The EQs and stuff are there and whatever, they're easy to use. But in terms of like creating a project, I'm the same. I find it really difficult to kind of start something where the things are already there. It's kind of forcing me into a corner. It's making me less creative. So I can relate to that for sure.
And maybe it's because I'm too lazy to make a template, but at the same time, I think I'm resisting making one because I think it will limit me a little bit.
Yeah, look, there's definite benefits to having templates for sure. You definitely should just do it because you got to find out. And you could change your own life.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's yeah. Look, in terms of production and songwriting and stuff, I find it a bit limiting and difficult. It forces me into this thing where it's like now I'm getting in my own head because I feel like I have to reach for this thing that I already decided on a month ago or whatever. That's a really weird brain trick that doesn't work for me for just for being creative. But yeah, I think let's move into when it comes to, you've obviously, you do quite a few different things. You've seen a few different sides of the music world. What were your expectations, I guess, going into it, and what differed from that? Like, what do you see now that you're like, oh, that was so silly to think that way, or is there anything like that springs to mind?
Do you mean about production or about the music industry or anything?
I was saying more towards the music industry, but I think we can talk both if anything springs to mind.
Yeah. I think especially being from Canberra, we don't have any kind of music industry workers in our city. So I didn't really know. I knew of all of the jobs. I knew what an A&R was, I knew what a manager was, and I knew what a publisher was, but I didn't know what they would do for me when they reached out, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I think that's been the most overwhelming thing this year, has just been um, the amount of like amazing people reaching out and offering to help me. And I'm not used to that.
Mm.
I'm used to kind of hustling and doing it all myself. So I'm still kind of transitioning there and working out what I want to still continue to like do myself.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think I don't know what surprised me. It's only kind of been maybe a month or so that I've had experiences outside of Canberra. So
Yeah, right. Yep.
I
Yep.
think like I was definitely banging people's doors down for a long time trying to be taken seriously. And I had one song that did really well, and suddenly everyone's like, "Oh, we remember you from when you were emailing us."
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think yeah, I'm super blessed that people are reaching out. And yeah, I'm really excited to see like what kind of happens next for me as well.
Yeah,
But
for
I think the
sure.
people that like listened to me when I was like 17 and sending them cold emails are the ones that are the most excited about what's happening at the moment.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Awesome. Well, when it comes to like, did you have any kind of, I guess, when it comes to like the difficult things, when you're picturing what you do, whether that's songwriting, producing, engineering, working where you do, like what comes to mind when you're like, I'm still kind of finding this really difficult, or what did you have that in the past and you overcame it, things like that?
I had this really great conversation with someone about this last week about um, just like having to work a lot harder to be taken seriously just purely from because of my gender and my age. So I'm 26, so I'm not like super young.
Mm.
There's a lot of people who are working in studios that are a lot younger than I am. And I think it's just been a constant battle of not really feeling good enough
Mm.
because as soon as you walk into a studio, people just talk to the men that are working there, not me, even though I am equally as competent.
Mm.
So that's been really frustrating. But I think it's also made me a better producer because I have had to work a lot harder in a lot shorter period of time to be able to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
Don't think it should have happened, but I
No.
think a lot of the women that I speak to feel similarly in the way that, yeah, we just have to work a lot harder to be listened to sometimes, which is a shame. But
Yeah. Obviously, it's so silly, and like I think, like you said, it just means that you're going to be armed with things that like males, for example, won't have because they haven't had to push, they haven't had to push through, haven't had to work through to get to where they are, and so yeah, you're going to have like this artillery of things that you've built up over time just to make you who you are now, and yeah. It's
at my first writing camp experience after Berklee, I was so excited. I got invited to go to LA, and halfway through the camp, I was producing, and I was the only woman producing. And halfway through the camp, I got pulled aside, and I was told that I wasn't good enough to keep being the producer for the week, but they still wanted to have me around.
Mhm.
And I was like, that's really odd, but that's okay. Like, this is your camp. Totally respect whatever you want to do. That's fine. Obviously, I was crushed. And then the rest of the conversation was really interesting. It was like, we need you to know that the reason you're being pulled out isn't because you're any worse than the other producers. It's because you're not better. And so they were like, you need to work significantly harder to be taken seriously because you're just as good as everyone else, but we need you to be better than the other people to be able to keep this kind of job.
Right.
And it really freaked me out. And I think it it's been a long time, but I work with some really great people who have kind of championed me from the beginning and have told me to do the hard jobs, even though like just to show people that I can do that, you know. Yeah. So I think I've had like specific experiences like that too that really mess you up for a little bit. And now I recognize that was a really stupid thing for her to say, but I did believe it for a couple of years there.
It's so bizarre. Like that's just weird. It's just like, it's not something that I've ever heard that.
I know.
That's so strange. We didn't actually get a chance to touch on some of your mentors and people that have kind of championed you and been there to guide you through the process. Let's talk about those people.
Should I rattle some names
absolutely.
off? Okay, wait. I'll try and do it like in chronological order. So, I mean, it all started when I was 17. I went to Songmakers with APRA. It was my first ever time going to Melbourne, but they had this like open program that you could go to if you were under 18 in Melbourne. And that's where I met Anna Laverty, and I met KLP, and I met Alice Ivy. And
legends.
They all were just like, I didn't even know that songwriting or producing was a job. At this point, I was just only singing. And they all were just like, oh, you're really great, like, congrats, stay in contact. And then KLP, I maybe like not allowed, but she pulled me aside at the end and gave me her email and was like, anytime you write a song, can you email it to me? And I was like, okay, sure. And so I was hounding this poor woman. Like I sent her so many songs because I was like, guys, what if this is my big break?
You got to shoot your shot.
KLP. Yeah, poor KLP got so many emails. She responded to every single one, critiqued every single song I sent her. She was like such a legend.
Yeah.
And then another early entry into my life was Dean Tuza. He was so cool. There was like a Zoom workshop during COVID or something that I, for some reason, couldn't attend. And he was running it. It was for some sort of women in music thing. And I couldn't make it, and I emailed him anyway and was just like, hey, I was wondering if you can send me what you talked about because I'm really curious to know like what you were talking about. And then he just organized a whole 2-hour-long like meeting with just me and him, which meant so much to me at the time because I had never been like, I don't know, I'd never had that from anyone. And he sent me this big Dropbox of like 1 million samples that he just collected over a long period of time. And was just like, here you go, all the best, have a good career.
That's it.
And we've stayed in contact ever since, and he's just like such a great guy, I think.
Love that.
And then after that, I started working with Hayden Lowson on one of my songs, and he produced my song Love Scraps, and I just sat in his studio for a whole week, and he's just like the sweetest person.
Shout out.
Yeah, he's the best.
Legend.
And he would just like tell me what he was doing as he was doing it, and I feel like I learned so much just about the workflow of producing a song from him. So that was another big one. And then, I mean, industry related, I'm talking a lot at the moment with Sarah Hamilton, who's an amazing music industry, like just legend. She's just good at everything. Georgina Fisk, who's really great with social media stuff. Zach Abrams has just helped me with like literally everything on earth. So many people are just like in my corner all the time cheering me on. That makes me feel so much better. Oh, and then that's just Australia. So then we've also got like the New York family. So I was really lucky to be mentored by Jerry Barnes for like the year that I was there, and he's the bass player for Nile Rodgers and Chic.
Yes.
So he was like my dad for a year, and I just would finish school and then go and sit in his studio and help him patch stuff and help him track stuff, and he was really cool. And then all of my teachers at Berklee are still like, we keep in regular contact too, and everyone's just really lovely. and it's really nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. Nah, some
I feel like I'm
awesome
probably
names out
forgetting
there.
someone like really important as well. So now I'm like racking my brain.
Nah, you're good. That's some awesome names out there. Obviously some What's That Sound alumni, so shout out to those guys too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to kind of move into, like I love to talk about, the approach to business and freelancing and things like that, because there's some really difficult stuff to kind of wrap your head around when you move into working for yourself. What are some of those things that stand out to you?
I think I want to recognize my privilege in the way that when I moved back from New York, I moved home and I haven't left because I really like living with my parents and they are really nice and we're just getting along really great. And
love it. Shout out to your parents.
So I just want to recognize the fact that I'm not paying rent at the moment and that is not a lot of people's business models. Please
soak it in.
So I'm not going to say that I'm the oracle of creating a successful business because I don't really know. But yeah, I think honestly the most business for me has come from just being a really fun person to be around and being the type of person that people want to have in the recording studio rather than necessarily like being the most knowledgeable. I think I am knowledgeable, but I don't think I'm advertising my knowledge of technical terms that much. Yeah, I think that's the main thing is just like being nice to everyone has meant that a lot more people want to work with me.
Well, you bring up a really, really important point. And we got this phrase here at Marshall Street. We got it off Tony Jack the Bear Mance. It's the music industry is a relationship-based economy. And that means that you are, your not only your work, but your ability to be a good person and offer services in a way that is, good. People know you, like you, and trust you. They want to refer you to others. And like you said, you just want to be a good hang and all that sort of thing. So you can't undersell that. Like that is such a huge part of what we do. Like if you charge a certain amount and someone else charges the exact same amount, guess who they're going to pick? The person that they like more. So,
Exactly.
So it's huge.
Yeah, I think that's my business model is just be a fun hang and live at my parents and it all works out in the end.
Love it. I love it. Well, when it comes to the next, like you said, you're excited about what's to come. What things are on the horizon for you? What are you immediately looking forward to? What things are coming up for you?
Yeah, so I feel like this year's really already taken a turn just because of the success of Gold. And my original plan for the year was I was releasing my own album and that was all I was focusing on because I didn't have anything really booked at the end of last year. I was like, okay, we're just going to focus on me for a little while. Mm-hmm. So original plan was a single in February, a single in April, a single in July, and then album also in July. But now I'm like so booked with other people's music, which is, I'm so thrilled. I'm absolutely stoked that I'm just giving a really vague like album coming this year.
Yeah.
Because I actually don't really have any spare time to work on my own music at the moment.
Yeah.
Which is a privilege. So I'm thrilled about that. But yeah, I think I'm just going to keep continuing to like co-write and collaborate with as many people as I can. And I'm always traveling. Whenever I'm not working in Canberra, I'm pretty much in Sydney or Melbourne.
Yep.
And yeah, just trying to make the most of everything as it happens.
Absolutely. Well, I love it. That's awesome. I always like to end the podcast with this question. What best bits of advice do you have, first of all, for producers, engineer types, and then secondly, for any artists that might be listening?
Oh, that's so hard. Wait, can I take a second to think
Yeah, of
about
course. It puts most people on the spot. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I know. I feel really bad. My best piece of advice is live with your parents.
That ship's long sailed for me. I'm sorry.
You can always go back. No. I think my best piece of advice for producers is to kind of, maybe this is misguided, but to run with that first idea when it's feeling really good in the studio. I think when I'm co-writing with someone else, I'm always like, let's just put this sound in and I'll replace it later. And I am just working really, really quickly to try and keep that energy in the room rather than messing around with trying to find the perfect sound. And I think that's the reason why people keep working with me, because there's so much energy in the room and there's so much excitement. And like I can replace those sounds later, but then often I go back to like work on it by myself, and I love the way that those instruments sound now because they remind me of how it felt when we were making it.
That's
so
great.
I think I just want to encourage producers to trust their gut and go with their first inclinations on sounds when it comes to like sound choice.
Mm-hmm.
And for artists is, I think just like feel empowered enough to contribute to producer decisions, because I think you might be the same. Like I often work with people that are just like, oh, well, I don't know anything about producing, so you make the final decision. And I'm like, no, well, it's your song. You should have the final say on how it sounds. I know plenty about like how a song should sound, but I don't know how your song should sound. And I think people should just be really empowered to make sure that it sounds exactly how they want, no matter who the producer is.
Yeah, I think like you're spot on. I think like it's so important that they have the final say, and just because they feel like they might feel inadequate compared to, it's a comparison game, and it's like that doesn't mean that your opinion is not valid. It just means that you're not feeling confident enough to speak up, but now I'm asking you to, so do it.
Yeah, I think the song's never going to be good if the artist doesn't feel good. So if they don't vibe with the sound, then they need to feel confident enough to speak up. But you need to make that space for them to feel confident too.
It's so true, so true. Well, yeah, thank you so much, Sophie, for spending some time and chatting today. This has been awesome fun. You're very welcome. And thanks to everyone who made it this far. Really, really appreciate you spending your time hanging out, watching us chat. And if you got some value out of this, please consider sharing the podcast. We've got merch available if you want some merch. All available. Everything's in the show notes. Check it out. Check out the links to my stuff, to Sophie's stuff. And we will see you next time on What's That Sound podcast. Thanks for listening to What's That Sound. Make sure you hit follow or subscribe on your podcast platform to stay up to date with each new episode. We'll catch you next time.